In late March 2024, the peaceful town of Yucatan, Kansas, was thrust into the spotlight. Two mothers, Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley, vanished under mysterious circumstances. What started as a routine trip ended with their car abandoned by a desolate road and more questions than answers. With few clues but mounting suspicions, authorities launched an investigation that spanned across state lines. As the disappearance escalated to a case of suspected foul play, arrests included a figure closely tied to the personal life of one of the missing women. 27-year-old Veronica Butler, born in 1996 in Oklahoma, primarily grew up in Guymon. She was a 2015 graduate of Yarborough High School, which was ominously close to where her abandoned vehicle would later be discovered. Veronica worked as a nursing assistant and contributed her time at a local scale house. Engaged to Tracy Peets, a Marine, Veronica was deeply devoted to her two young children from a previous relationship. Jilian Kelley, 39, was from Gering, Nebraska, but made her home in Yucatan, Kansas with her husband, Heath Kelley, a local minister. Heath was appointed as a new minister at Willow Christian Church in Indianola, Nebraska, in November 2023, but had not yet begun his position. Serving as the secretary of the Yucatan First Christian Church, Jilian was deeply embedded in her faith and the religious community. As a mother of four, she juggled her professional responsibilities with a busy home life. Known for her warmth and active participation in church activities, Jilian was recognized as a steadfast support. She mentored her peers and was always ready to lend a hand or an ear to those in need. One of those people she would lend a hand to was Veronica Butler. Veronica and Jilian were more acquaintances than they were close friends. Having both been members of the First Christian Church in Yucatan, their lives intertwined through their shared involvement within the church. Despite not being extremely close, Jilian was one of the court-appointed supervisors of the visitations between Veronica and her children. Veronica's children had been living with a grandparent in Eva, Oklahoma at the time. On March 30, 2024, Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley set off on what was supposed to be an uneventful journey from Yucatan, Kansas to Eva. The purpose of their trip was for Veronica to pick up her two children. They were going to attend her daughter's 6th birthday party. Her son is 8 years old. This was a 45-minute trip that Veronica, as a committed mother, made regularly. It was a day that began like any other, with both women preparing for the drive. They left early, planning to return the same day, as they had done on numerous occasions. This time, unbeknownst to the two moms, the routine trip would take an unexpected and tragic turn. As night fell and neither woman made it to their destination or returned home, their family and friends began to worry. This led to a search that would soon escalate into a full investigation by the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, OSBI. The last known sighting of the two women were when they left Yucatan. Veronica and Jilian's phone records indicated their devices were actively sending signals until about 9:42 a.m. Thereafter, the devices were no longer seen by the networks and stopped transmitting. Later that same day, their car was found abandoned on a dirt path 1,000 feet off of Oklahoma State Highway 95 and Road L. This is just south of Elkhart, Kansas, not far from Yarborough School where Veronica had graduated. The school was closed on Monday, April 1st, out of an abundance of caution, and reopened but remained on lockdown Tuesday, given the unknown nature of the missing persons incident. The school superintendent said Butler was part of the class of 2015 and was a class of one that year, meaning she was the only senior graduating. The superintendent wrote, "I joked about her being the top of her class and, well, the bottom also." The location was remote, an open area that rarely saw much activity. The abandoned car stood out to passerby. Inside the vehicle, the scene was unsettling. A small amount of blood was found, hinting at violence. Outside the vehicle, separate puddles of blood were discovered. Whatever incident occurred, it happened both inside and outside the car. The car's doors were left open, as if the occupants had either been forced out quickly or had left in a hurry. Veronica's glasses were also found in the roadway, near a broken hammer. A pistol magazine was found inside Jilian's purse at the scene. No pistol was found. The area surrounding the car was vast and open, and offered no immediate clues or witnesses. This isolation only heightened concerns about what might have happened to Veronica and Jilian. Authorities, having declared the disappearance suspicious from the outset, intensified their efforts. Search teams combed fields and woodlands. Investigators canvassed the area for any potential leads that could shed light on the woman's last known movements. As the days dragged on with no sign of Veronica or Jilian, the local communities where the women were rooted began to rally. Prayer services organized by both the Willow Christian Church and the Yucatan Assembly of God brought residents together in hope and solidarity. Social media pages and community bulletin boards filled with appeals for any information related to the case. The Willow Christian Church posted on Facebook, "Please pray that Jilian and her friend Veronica are safe and that they are found quickly. God, please bring these women home to their families who are so worried about them." Behind the scenes, law enforcement worked tirelessly, piecing together the women's last known activities. They checked into the personal and professional relationships and followed up on all tips received. The lack of concrete evidence or a clear direction in the investigation only heightened the frustration and fear that gripped everyone involved. Travis Woodworth, a friend, said, "Not knowing anything, not knowing if they are here in Kansas still or in Oklahoma or where they are at. My heart just dropped, like it has been a very heartbreaking week. Lots of sleepless nights." Drelly Houts, another friend of the missing woman, said, "Nothing like that really happens around here, so, one, it was a shock. It was her of all people." Kelley also said that Veronica lights up a room and always shared a smile, and that everyone must pray for her family and fiancé, Tracy. The OSBI spokesperson, Hunter McKee, reiterated the disturbing nature of the disappearance. He mentioned the rural location of the car and the complete lack of contact with the women as primary factors fueling their concerns about foul play. He added, "And usually you can use cameras and footage to see maybe what had occurred or what had led up to that." On April 13, 2024, the investigation led to the arrest of 4 people in connection to Veronica and Jilian's disappearance and demise. 54-year-old Tad Burt Cullum, 50-year-old Tiffany Michelle Adams, 44-year-old Cole Earl Twombly, and 43-year-old Cora Twombly. Eventually, a 5th suspect by the name of Paul Grice was also arrested. Although they had yet to find their bodies, the evidence collected from the scene was instrumental in establishing foul play and aiding in the quick arrests of the suspects involved. Hunter McKee said, "The evidence that was discovered inside of that abandoned vehicle and around it were able to help our investigators determine that there was foul play involved. What was in the vehicle and around it, we cannot discuss. The loved ones had to be held back from attacking the suspects as they entered the courtroom, the first time they had been seen in public since their arrest. The 4 individuals were charged with 2 counts of slaying, 2 counts of kidnapping, and conspiracy in the end of Veronica and Jilian. They were booked into the Texas County Jail. The day after the arrests, on April 14th, in a secluded area of Texas County, Oklahoma, the search for the 2 missing mothers ended with a grim discovery. Authorities, including the OSBI, the FBI, and the Texas County Sheriff's Department, announced that they had located 2 bodies. The remains were then transported to the office of the Oklahoma Chief Medical Examiner to undergo investigation processes and autopsies. Officials said that all children involved are safe. It is unclear where the children were at the time of the slayings. The investigation into the disappearance of Veronica and Jilian led authorities to a rural property less than 10 miles from where the women were last seen. This location became a focal point after investigators uncovered evidence linking the suspects to the area. According to court documents, 2 burner phones associated with the 4 suspects had pinged near a recently disturbed plot of land on the property. A hole had apparently been dug, then refilled and discreetly covered with hay. The property owner, Jamie Beasley, provided chilling details to the investigators. He talked about his interactions with Tad Burt Cullum, one of the arrested suspects. Cullum had allegedly requested to use a skid steer to perform what he harmlessly described as dirt work to bury concrete. Just 2 days before Veronica and Jilian vanished, Cullum had approached property owner Jamie Beasley. He asked about using the heavy machinery to remove a stump and participate in other digging activities. Following the women's disappearance, Cullum, feeling the pressure of the investigation, warned Jamie that law enforcement considered him a person of interest. He noted that the skid steer tracks might look suspicious. Jamie was advised by Cullum to simply assert that the suspect had been carrying out general land maintenance if questioned. As the investigation continued and officials began piecing together not only the how and who behind the crime, but also the way, they uncovered a detail that would shock the entire community. One of the suspects had a surprisingly close connection to Veronica Butler. Tiffany Adams was Veronica's mother-in-law, making her a relative by marriage and the grandmother to Veronica's children, the grandmother with whom the children stayed in Eva. During the investigation, Adams told the OSBI that on March 29th, her son and her grandchildren spent the night elsewhere. She had planned to pick them up the following morning prior to meeting up with Veronica. Court documents show that Adams contacted Veronica at 9 a.m. on March 30th to confirm their appointment. According to Adams, Veronica told her she was not going to make it because something came up. Phone records confirm that the conversation happened, but that Veronica was actually on her way to pick up Jilian at the time. Wrangler Rickman, the father of Veronica's 2 children, had legal custody but was in a rehabilitation facility at the time. This meant that the children were living with Adams at the time of the disappearance. The potential motive in the case seemed to be tied to the ongoing custody battle over Veronica's children that began in February 2019. The contentious legal battle consisted of frequent court appearances and crucial hearings, hinting at the high stakes for all parties involved. 10 days before Veronica went missing, she filed for more visitation and was seeking full custody. There was an upcoming court hearing on April 17th that was poised to potentially grant Veronica unsupervised visitation rights. OSBI interviewed the person who usually supervises the visits, and she said she was available to supervise that day, but Adams told her to take a couple weeks off from visitation. Adams wanted to question her grandchildren about how Veronica's approved visitation supervisors were. Tiffany Adams sometimes resisted handing over the children to her own son, despite his legal custody rights. The fact that law enforcement has also been called to intervene in the custody issues was a clear indication that there was a volatile family dynamic. Recordings also indicated that Adams and her boyfriend Tad Cullum, who was also one of the 4 suspects arrested, had made threats against Wrangler. Wrangler's grandmother reported in February 2024 he told her they did not have to worry about the custody battle much longer because Adams had it under control. Adams knew the path the judge walked to work, and "we will take out Veronica" at drop-off. Wrangler was confirmed to be in a rehabilitation facility in Oklahoma City at the time of the disappearance. After obtaining a search warrant for Adams' phone on April 1st, OSBI agents discovered searches related to tasers, gun shops, prepaid phones, and methods to lure someone from their home. A search of local gun shops showed Adams had purchased 5 stun guns on March 23rd and 3 prepaid cell phones from Walmart. The cell phones were traced to areas significant to the investigation, including where Veronica's car was found and their last known location. On March 30th, between 10:16 and 10:35 a.m., 2 of these phones were tracked to a remote pasture where evidence of recent soil disturbance was apparent. A buried hole covered with hay was found roughly 8.5 miles from Veronica and Jilian's last known spot, within a time frame consistent with the disappearance of the 2 mothers. All the suspects belonged to an anti-government group called God's Misfits that regularly met at the Twombly's home. On March 30th, their 16-year-old daughter noticed that Cora and Cole Twombly were not home, but returned around noon. They had allegedly taken a blue and gray Chevrolet pickup truck. After returning, they asked their teenage daughter to clean the pickup's interior. She also told investigators that her mother admitted that she and her father had blocked the road to intercept Veronica and Jilian. They then directed them towards where Adams, Cullum, and Grice were waiting. When questioned about why Jilian had to be slain as well, Cora justified it by saying Jilian was not innocent because she supported Veronica. When asked if the bodies were hidden in a well, Cora's cryptic reply was, "Something like that." Their daughter also talked about earlier attempts to take Veronica Butler's life around Hugoton in February 2024. These attempts included a strategy to lure Veronica Butler outside, a tactic mirrored by the web search found on Adams' phone. Cora also described a plan to simulate an accident by dropping an anvil through Butler's windshield. Such incidents commonly occurred when driving past work vehicles. Prosecutors say there had been many attempts to take Veronica's life. Other court documents show the years of turmoil between Veronica and Adams. Efforts to secure a protection order did not get a judge's approval. KSN spoke with Clinton Butler, Veronica's father. When asked if he felt the justice system failed his daughter, he responded, 100%. A celebration of life service was held for Jilian on April 28th and for Veronica on May 3rd. Grice, 31, made his first court appearance in Texas County, Oklahoma on May 1st, 2024. It is unclear why the police did not arrest Grice when the others were arrested. His arrest came 9 days later. He admitted that he was a part of the planning, slaying, and burial of Veronica and Jilian. During the hearing, he was denied bail. According to the motion, there were 3 reasons involved in the decision. Proof of guilt is evident. Violent offenses are believed to have happened, and he is facing a maximum sentence of life or life without parole. He will get a public defender since he said he cannot afford to hire his own. According to Adams's affidavit, she also did provide a recorded statement to law enforcement indicating her responsibility for the slaying of the deceased. Veronica and Jilian were more than victims in a sensational case. They were individuals with hopes, dreams, and loved ones. This case serves as a reminder of the devastating impact that crime has on victims and their families, going far beyond the headlines and courtrooms. For the public and the loved ones of the victims, the wait for the trial and its outcome can be an agonizing period filled with uncertainty. As the legal process unfolds, they must grapple with the slow pace of judicial proceedings. It can often feel frustratingly sluggish compared to the immediate impact and emotional upheaval caused by the crime. The hope for all is that justice for Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelley will be served. There is an effort in Kansas to make sure the names of Veronica and Jilian are not forgotten. Hamlin and Beth Beard are the co-owners of Maine Revelation, a small business in Hugoton which is selling T-shirts. This is an effort to help the families of Veronica and Jilian. The T-shirts feature Jilian's favorite Bible verse on the back. All of the money they get will go to the victims' families. Grice is expected to return to the courthouse on May 15th with the other 4 people who have been arrested and charged in connection to this case. For 2 decades, the community of Ormond Beach, Florida, was haunted by the unsolved disappearance of Autumn Lane McClure. The 16-year-old vanished in May 2004, leaving behind a trail of questions and a family desperate for answers. Initially characterized as a missing persons case, the investigation took a dark turn as new evidence surfaced years later, pointing to foul play. Autumn Lane McClure was a bright and energetic 16-year-old high school student from Ormond Beach, Florida. Known for her vibrant personality and warm smile, Autumn attended Mainland High School and lived with her grandmother. Working part-time at a local grocery store, Winn-Dixie, she was a familiar face to many in her community before her mysterious disappearance. On May 10, 2004, Autumn's grandmother reported her missing after Autumn's boyfriend said he dropped her off at the Volusia County Mall. In the early stages of the investigation, her grandmother received several letters and phone calls, allegedly from Autumn. The letters claimed she was fine and would return home after she turned 18, but Autumn was never seen or heard from again. Initial investigations focused on retracing Autumn's last known movements and interviewing close acquaintances. This included her boyfriend, who was quickly ruled out as a suspect. Despite efforts to locate Autumn, no significant leads or evidence surfaced that could explain what had happened to her. Autumn's grandmother, who had been her primary caregiver, became a central figure in keeping the case in the public eye. As the years passed, the investigation into Autumn's disappearance was marked by periods of activity and frustrating lulls. Investigators never ceased their efforts, continuously re-interviewing witnesses, collecting DNA from family members, and following up on new leads. One lead came in 2016 when Autumn's former boyfriend, previously thought to have dropped her at the mall, confessed to investigators that he had actually dropped her off at the Sea Breeze Bridge. She was then picked up from there by her grocery store coworker, Jessica Freeman. Detectives learned that Autumn had been staying with Jessica and her boyfriend, Brian Donnelly, who at the time was 31 years old. The couple admitted that Autumn had stayed with them for a brief time because she was allegedly having problems at home with her grandmother. They provided little information that could help investigators locate Autumn, claiming ignorance. Interviews with Jessica in 2018, who was living in Nevada at the time, yielded no new information. She continued to deny any knowledge of Autumn's fate. It was not until several years later that the case saw a significant breakthrough. In 2021, authorities received a crucial tip that would break the case wide open. Chris Miller, a relative of Jessica and Brian, came forward, claiming that either or both of them were involved in a teenage girl's demise in Volusia County. This tip reopened the case with renewed determination. It led to a controlled call set up by the police. Jessica then admitted that she saw Brian Donnelly end Autumn's life. Donnelly passed away during a medical procedure on May 26, 2022, without facing charges. In the wake of his passing, detectives re-interviewed Jessica, who was granted immunity by prosecutors. After securing her immunity deal, she confessed that Autumn had been living with herself and Donnelly in the Shady Oaks Mobile Home Park. Autumn was involved in an inappropriate and intimate relationship with them before her disappearance. Jessica also told investigators that she had seen Donnelly choking Autumn in their trailer's bathroom. But by the time she intervened, Autumn was already lifeless. He then threatened Jessica, saying that she would face the same consequences if she went to the police. Authorities said they believe the motive was Autumn planned to go back home, and Donnelly was afraid if she returned home and disclosed their relationship, he would face charges. Jessica also provided investigators with crucial information on the location where Autumn's body would be buried. She pinpointed the place to the 1300 block of Hand Avenue in Ormond Beach. She recalled how Brian Donnelly had revisited the property in late 2021 or early 2022. He had seemed satisfied to find that a new home was being constructed over the area where he had allegedly hidden Autumn's body. In 2023, authorities were able to cooperate with the new owner of a trailer home on the property to conduct an excavation. Utilizing ground-penetrating radar, investigators found irregularities in the soil beneath where the trailer once stood. 20 years after her disappearance, in 2024, the meticulous search allowed investigators to recover 99.9% of Autumn's remains. The discovery of her remains has offered a small sense of peace for her twin brother and the rest of her living family members, who have endured years of uncertainty and pain. While the recovery of her remains and Jessica's confession does provide long-awaited answers, it also gives the family a chance to finally mourn and honor Autumn's memory properly. While justice in a traditional sense is unattainable due to Donnelly's prior passing, knowing Autumn's fate, as terrible as it was, does provide closure on a chapter that has haunted her family for nearly 2 decades. Volusia Sheriff Mike Chitwood said the following: "The sad part is he will never face, in this world, for the evil he perpetrated. I am hoping to God that when he takes his last breath, that maybe he has a vision of where he was headed."